Hi folks, welcome to the next video tutorial on Pyspark complex JSON handling along with the HTTP GET request. For the next 10 minutes, we're going to see different kinds of JSON handling scenarios with respect to Spark. Let me show you the agenda for today's session. The first one is going to be the Pyspark setup for JSON read. The second is going to be normal JSON read using Pyspark, multi-line JSON read using Pyspark, HTTP JSON read using Pyspark, and handling complex data types like nested and array in JSON. Yep. So coming to the first step, Pyspark setup for JSON read. So if you install your PyCharm, just go to the normal virtual environment. It may take for creating a new project in your PyCharm. Once it got ready, you'll get a very blank screen which do not have any Pyspark support so far. To make sure you want to get the Pyspark support environment in this particular workspace, once you create the project, go to File and go to Settings. And you have a project name, project interpreter, and project structure. Go to project structure, go to add content route. Go to the package where you installed Spark and import two libraries. The first one is the entire Python package and the library you will see Py4j. These two packages are important to have a Pyspark environment first to start your coding. I'm giving okay for that. I just went through this a bit quick so that you can just pause the video and you can set up your things. And then let's go ahead and creating my own Py file. New Python file, Spark complex. Once you are done, it may give you some pop-ups stating to install few requirements at the top. At the start, you can see there is an install requirements, right? You can just have to give okay. It may take a bit while to make that setup to get ready in your environment. You can see the status at the bottom. Meanwhile, we can start our code. It gets installed. So first one which you need to start your Spark coding is, you can able to start your Spark coding using two objects. The first one is a Spark context, other one is Spark session. Let's go ahead in installing these through these two packages from Pyspark import Spark context conf, other one is Spark context, and then from Pyspark.sql import Spark session. Once you put these two objects inside these two objects, let's go ahead in creating a reference object for these two packages. The first one is Spark context. SC is equal to Spark context and master local, runs in a local mode, and app name as data1, or you can put it as data JSON. Then initialize Spark session. Spark is equal to Spark session dot builder dot app name. This is not mandatory since we already gave, but I'm just giving for extra reference dot get or create. That's it, folks. So you're ready to start your coding. So now I'm gonna show you few samples JSON which we're gonna handle right now in the following minutes. The first one is, let's go to the agenda and I'll put it as done. Okay, follow the video and do the same setup. And you can put in case of any issues you face, just put it in the comments. I can able to review it and give the solution for that. So go to the agenda. The Pyspark setup is completed. The second is normal JSON read using Pyspark. Normal JSON in the sense we do not have any complex data types and complex data. What is known as complex data types? That we'll go that I'll tell you in the 7th point mentioned over here, 7th line. So let me show you a very sample JSON, which is not even a complex data. It is here. If you see the data here, it's a pure flattened, normal, simplified JSON. that Spark can able to easily understand this and convert that into a structured fashion. It is a bit easy. So let me just read this data, which you are seeing it as a devices.json in my Spark coding. Okay. It is in a particular path. I'm gonna write that, I'm gonna give that path to Spark so that Spark can easily read this data and convert into a proper data frame. Clear? So let's go ahead. Normal df is equal to spark.read.json and give that path. File c colon data spark data1 devices.json. This path might vary for each and every system you keep the file. In my system, it is in C drive, data folder, subdata folder, and Spark data one folder. Inside that, my devices.json is sitting. I'm trying to read using Spark session object. Hope it is clear. So I'm going to show this data dot show. Since it's a first run, it may take a bit of time to show the results for you. The reason for me to go with respect to PyCharm is it will be a bit easy for you to see the code along with the data. If you see this data, it is purely converted into a proper Spark data frame, right? So I didn't do anything. I used a very normal Spark API, spark.read.json, and I kept in one of the paths and I sent that path to my Spark JSON. It purely convert into a data frame. And I can do any SQL operations for this and take it forward for this data frame. So this is the first normal JSON read, which I just thought of showing. And I can put my agenda it as, right? So going ahead, it's gonna be the next step is reading of multi-line JSON. What is this multi-line JSON? At particular point of time, you may fall in scenarios in which a single row, a single JSON record can be represented as a multi-line. Say for example, this is the example for that multi-line JSON record. It's a single record because if you see the start of this particular bracket, it gets ended up at the last. It gets highlighted, you can see. But there is a chance for you to have such records in which the entire JSON record may fall under multi-line. But how Spark can able to handle this multi-line JSON? Say for example, let me give the path, the file name of this is sample ca1 JSON. Check whether I can able to read this data traditionally how I read this. Say multi-line underscore df spark.read.json. I'm trying to read using the same traditional fashion which I have used at the top. File c colon nifi input and sample ca1.json. This is a place where I kept this particular data. So I'm trying to read this data using just like the method I have used at the top. And let's see whether multi-line JSON can be read using the same method. Giving the run. See, sorry, I just gave normal df instead of multi-line df. I'm going to give that run. If you see this, it is simply throwing an error stating that it is a purely a corrupt record. This show worked, but this show it is not able to read this multi-line JSON because it is simply throwing an error stating that it's a pure corrupt record. I can't able to decode it. The only reason behind it is due to multi-line. To handle such scenario, okay, you just have to enable one property in Spark. It is multi-line true. That's it. If you just put it in the option, it will simply read the multi-line data seamlessly and with very ease. I'm giving the run. If you see the second record, it is clearly mentioned as it is clearly able to convert that into a proper table data frame, which in other words, in Spark language, it is going to be a Spark data frame. The first record is a normal JSON data. This is one record with multi-line JSON. To make sure the Spark should understand as a multi-line, you just have to enable a property known as multi-line true. So I can put this data as done. Before we go ahead with the HTTP JSON read in Pyspark, let me tell you what is this nested and array data. Okay, if you see this clearly, if I make this as a print schema, I'm printing the schema of this data. I mean the data frame. Let me print this multi-line df also print schema and check how that actually the print schema works for this. Because this is a pure flattened data, but this is a complex data with respect to JSON, in which you can see a nested data. And normal data which you see here consists of, let me just maximize this. Flattened schema, but multiple complex nested fields. For example, nationality, it's going to be a string. For results, it's going to be an array. Inside an array, you might have multiple JSON records in which you need to handle few array fields as well as the struct fields. It is not that easy for you to directly get this record value out of this data frame. You can't simply select the value. Instead, if you want to select the nested data, okay, the array fields should be exploded. Say, for example, if I want to select this city column, I have to explode this array column and have to go ahead and selecting the records. For example, if you want to select this city column, how this actually works, which is actually sitting in far beneath the array and struct fields. Because if you see it clearly, we have results as an array at the top and user as a struct at the top. I have to penetrate through results along with user along with city column. How can we do that? Struct columns, I can easily fetch out the data by user.city. I have to use just a dot to fetch this data. But in case of my array column, it is not that easy for me to fetch the column. Instead, I need to explode this column. How can I explode this column? Okay, for that you do have a Spark functions like from pyspark.sql.functions import start as SF. You just sorry, you just have to give the alias names here, which helps you to get all the functions, to grip of all the functions at a particular scenario. So here you can just give it as sql.import functions as SF. So if you have these functions, SF, a variable known as SF right now will have a hold all the functions together. So if I want to read this particular cell record, you just have to explode this data using with column results dot sf dot explode. Since we have array results as an array column, mention that column as an array results. I'm saying here, do an explode of this column and give a power of this column to results field, and do your select then dot select results dot user dot location, because this is also a struct, dot city. That's it. If you can able to give results, if once you gave a power of results fields to a results column, just you have to use results dot user dot location dot city. Just show this, and you can easily fetch the city column separately out of this data. If you see, it went inside, penetrated towards all one arrays results field, two struct fields. One is the user, other one is location, to fetch the city, in which that actually it helps the explode. As I told you, user is a struct field, location is a struct field, which you can easily take it out using dot. But results comes under array, in which you need to explode that and get the power out of it. Going ahead, let's work on, there is a, there is an URL which provides a lot of JSON complex data. The same format, the format which you see, the same format. I want to fetch the data from URL using Pyspark. How can we do that? Using an URL lib. Okay, let's go ahead and giving the code for URL lib. Say for example, I want in Python, I want to fetch the data from this URL and process it, right? Using Pyspark, you have an API known as URL lib. In case of URL lib, it can easily fetch the data and process it from URL lib dot request import request comma URL open. So using this API, I can able to fetch this data. How can I fetch this data? Currently I'm commenting out this data just to decrease the load. Now I want to give this URL as an input to Spark to fetch this JSON data, right? So how can we do that? HTTP URL open and give this particular URL to Spark, sorry, to this object. Dot read dot decode UTF-8 and read the data. RDD of str is equals sc dot parallelize and send that HTTP request, and df read is equal to, now once this entire data comes as a part of string, this string is converted into an RDD, and this RDD is sent to spark.read.json. That's it. Your DF is ready. So you just have to read this data frame as a normal show. That's it. That's it. You can see the data which is getting fetched from URL. I have never given show to anything else, just to this URL. To fetch this data again, you can able to explode. You can able to accordingly take the required fields if you want. That's it for today, folks. Let me come up with a new learning video along with the new topics. I'll keep you posted. If you really want to see the other videos with respect to big data, cloud, as well as Spark, you can subscribe to this channel and hit like button and forward it to, if who are required to learn a lot, just forward this. Thank you, folks. Meet you in the next week with a new learning video. Thank you.